Hi, this is Lori from Time to Be Creative, and today I'm going to show you how I make my paper flowers. I changed the location of my camera, so we're going to see how this works and if this is a good viewing spot for the camera. First of all, I'm going to tell you that today I'm using cutouts from Tim Holtz's Alterations Tattered Flowers. And I put that through my Big Kick, that die cut. I also have used, to make flowers, this EK Success large flower cutout. But this punch is very difficult to use. I love the cutout that it makes, but this mechanism doesn't work as well as I think it should, and so a lot of times the paper gets stuck and you really have to take something and kind of push it down. But if you can find a punch that has a 5-petal flower, I think you would enjoy making those flowers as well. So that's an option, although it can be frustrating. And you'll need a mouse pad, couldn't think of it there for a minute, a mouse pad, some just clear water in a little spray bottle. I like to ink my edges, so if you have an ink pad nearby, and I'm going to show you a little bit of a twist that I do with some of my flowers. And so I have some floral wire, some floral tape. Sometimes I use my round pliers. They're for jewelry making. Sometimes I use those. And then something like this. Now, I learned how to do these from a girl on YouTube called Tamika. And if you get a chance, look up her tutorial, because she makes beautiful flowers. She suggests you can use the end of a paintbrush or the end of, say, like a marker that has a rounded edge. I had difficulty getting that to work for me. And it could be I may not have had the paper in the right condition. But I went to my local craft store and I purchased this tool. 3 of them came in a package, 3 different sizes. This is a molding and sculpting tool. And this works very well for me. I can't find my middle size, but this one's very teeny tiny, as you can see. So I haven't used this one too much. But the 3rd one is in between these 2 sizes, which is really helpful. But in my craft mess here, I can't put my hands on it right this second. So you need that. I have my hot glue gun plugged in. And I've pre-cut some of my paper. But these are some of the flowers that I've made. These are from the Tim Holtz. These are the medium size. And there's a little one. And then this is just a bud that I made from the EK Success punch. So that's a little different. So they're the flowers that I've made. Now what you want to do, now you can ink your edges either before you start or when your flower's finished. I think today I'm going to make mine, ink mine when my flower is finished. So I have 5 pieces of the medium die cut from the Tim Holtz Tattered Flowers. And if you'll notice on this EK Success punch that the flower petals come in very deeply here. And that's what you need to be able to work with and bend the flower to make the bud and manipulate the paper. And on the medium size cut of Tim Holtz's die cut, you can't get in there and bend them. So you want to come in and either cut out a little wedge, which is certainly easy to do, or just make slits where you can get in there and work that paper. You don't want to come too far into the center because you want to be able to leave that center section. So if you use his die cut, You just need to take a few minutes and come in and cut out that little piece of extra paper. And I always end up missing one petal. Now, of course, this is a 6-petal flower. I do like the 5-petal flower better, but you'll see this makes a very nice finished product. And you can use these to decorate in your books, on cards. You can put it on top of a package, or I'm going to show you, you can put them in a little vase or a little bottle. I'm going to show you how you do that. Now on Tim's die cut, there's also a little mini flower as well. And what Tamika suggests is that you dampen the paper when you begin to work with it. And on the larger flower, I find that that's necessary, but on the smaller and medium flower, I'm not certain you really have to do that. But if it's the first time that you're making a flower, you may want to go ahead and do that. Sometimes I use 5 petals, sometimes I use 4. Just depends on how the process is going for me. I'm going to shake off my crumbs there. And so you want to work on the opposite side of your paper. If I want my flower to be pink, I'm going to work on the white side. If you have double-sided paper, that's really nice. But I really like this little dotted Swiss kind of print, and so I'm going to use that side as the top of my flower. And what you want to make sure is that you don't spray your flowers. If you're going to dampen them, you don't want to spray them too heavily, because when the paper is super saturated and too wet, it will tear, and you can't really manipulate your tool as nicely as you should be able to. So the idea is that you want to curl the edges of your petals. I'm going to do, I think, 1 center petal, so I'm going to put one aside. And you're kind of breaking down the fibers of the paper. So you're going to take your tool, whichever you're using, whether it's the end of a paintbrush or a molding tool. I think I saw something too in the cake decorating section, but there was only one. And for the 3 of these in the sculpting section of my local craft store, I think it was $11 or $12. And of course, you can always use a coupon, so you can get them fairly reasonably. And see, look, I did. I missed this one little petal there. Okay, so now what you're going to do is just with a rolling motion, you're going to start to work that paper and break down that fiber and start to curl those petals. And then start drawing them in towards the center. So the whole petal section starts to curl up and form almost like a little cup. Now for the bud in the center of the flower, you really want that to curl. I like to also just curl around the center like this. It kind of helps to bring that paper together. And so that will be our center. And we'll glue that to become our bud. So then you want to do your other petals. The same idea. Break down the fiber of the paper. Draw in towards the center. And then you just keep working it. Now for your outer petals, once you get it to this condition, you want to flip it over, and then I just like to take my tool and then just circle around in the center. It helps to pop those flower petals up. And just continue. The great thing about this is that you can make a little bouquet. You could certainly coordinate your paper with whatever project you're working on. And you can make a variety of sizes. You really could draw your own flower with 5 petals. If you look at the YouTube video that Tamika has, she will give you information for a download where you can print off the pattern of 5 petal flowers. My issue with that is then you have to cut them all by hand. And if you're making, say you're making a lot of flowers that you want to either decorate placement markers for a wedding or a bridal shower, that would be a lot of cutting, because you want to have 4 or 5 petal sections for each flower. Okay, so that's what you want. So now we have our 3 pieces that are flat, and then we have the section that we're going to use to make our bud. You just kind of want to roll that and work that in your fingers. Bring over my hot glue gun. Now with a 5 petal flower it's a little easier, but you just want to come in here and you're going to join these together with just the tiniest dot of hot glue that you can manage. It just takes a few seconds to hold that down. Now if I'm making this for a book, I may not want my I may want my center bud to be really tight, but if I'm making this and I'm going to put a stem on it, which I'm going to show you, I may not want my bud to be as tight because I want to be able to get my wire in there. So you just continue to curl these petals around. Add your little spot of glue. Just hold it there for a second. I'm just going to ignore that phone.
Call from Dunkel Francis. Call from Dunkel Francis.
So we're just going to continue. Little dots of glue.
Hi Lori, this is Mom. Just called, see how you were doing. When you have time, give me a buzz. If not, I'll talk to you again maybe tomorrow. I'll give you a buzz. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
My mother never leaves me a message, okay? Never fails when you're recording. Okay, so that's the bud. And then all we're going to do is we're going to start putting the flower together. And what you want to do is put your bud in the center, and then we're going to start bringing up these petals and we'll glue them in place. So you just need a little bead of glue at the bottom, and then try to center that the best that you can. And then I just start adding little drops of glue down towards the base. Now you're going to have a lot of strings. But Tamika says if you hit this with a hair dryer, that'll take care of those strings. I should try that, but I haven't tried that yet. I'm wondering if one of those heat guns works. That's on my wish list, one of those heat guns. Now we're going to add the next layer, and what you want to do is you want to offset your petals. Like that. And sometimes you'll need to glue a few in place. Just depends on what kind of look that you're trying to achieve. And then our last, now you could just make a bud, especially if you're doing a little bouquet. Make a couple of buds, put a couple of leaves. I just, Tamika cuts out a star shape and uses that underneath for her leaves. I just cut out little leaf shapes by hand. So that's basically the flower. Now see this one here, I used 2 petal sections to make a bud. You can see where the bud's bigger. And this is the little mini flower. This one has 1, this one has 2. Just depends on what you're looking for. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink this. Let's see, I think I'm going to use a charcoal color. I love these ink boxes, but I have a hard time keeping track of. So I'm just putting a little bit of color on the edge of my flowers. It just gives it a little more dimension, interest. You can coordinate that with whatever color you're working on in a book. So now you can attach that to a gift. You can put that on a card. You can put that in a scrapbook. You can use it for your front cover. There are many things you can do with that flower. One of the things I've been doing, if I can find my right tool, here it is. I think this is an old ceramic tool. But if you have any kind of a tool that has a pointed end like an awl or like a, for a better, I don't know how to better describe it, like an ice pick, but this is a very narrow one. You could probably use a thin nail. But what I do is I go into the flower center and you have to be careful. I just use my finger as a guide and I just start twisting that. I'm just punching a little hole through the bottom of the flower. And I almost never get it right in the center, but that's okay. And then I pull my flower back off. And then I take a piece of wire. Now there's really thin craft floral wire you can get. And for some of the smaller flowers, and depending on what I need it for, I may use that. But if I'm going to put these flowers in a vase or some kind of a arrangement, if I'm going to add them to another project and I need to put them into, like, say, a piece of styrofoam or floral oasis, I want something a little more durable and steady, something with a little more strength. I would use a heavier floral wire. I think this is about an 18 gauge. And I think it goes opposite. I think 22 would probably be a little thinner. But this is very thin. This little white portion is very thin. And you can also use this maybe to do little curly cues out the side or really out the center of your flower. So what I do is I just take a piece of my floral wire and I pop that into the hole that I just poked in. And then I just take these rounded pliers that you use for jewelry making, and I just make like a little hook kind of a shape, and then I drag that down, pull that down into the center of the flower to where it's tight. Now sometimes it's a little loose, and if it is, then I just add a little bit of hot glue at the base of my flower. And then to cover that wire, I just use some floral tape. And you just kind of give that a twist, and as you twist it, you kind of pull the tape. It attaches itself. And then you can make that as long as you need it to be. And then I usually bend the neck a little bit. But that's how you put it on a stem if you need a flower on a stem. And then I just want to quickly show you with a flower like this and this petal that are more open, even with these other petals, if you wanted to, if you want to curl your edges, this is, because this is rounded, this set of pliers, you can go ahead and do that. Or you can really work it with your fingers. And just give that petal a little twist. But that's basically it. Very easy. I'm sure there are other die cuts out there that you can use to make yourself some flowers for your projects. That's it for this video. Thanks for joining me today. Hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.